To convert to a printed circuit board, it's pretty simple actually. Once you have your schematic and everything set up the way that you'd like it, you'll just go up here to File and you'll convert it to PCB. That will launch the PCB layout portion of DipTrace. Now, unless everything has a pattern associated with it, it will not go smoothly. So you need to make sure that everything has a pattern associated with it, which all of our items in here do. Okay. Notice here we can see that our origin. And first thing I'm going to show you is how to move that origin. I'm going to just make the origin located right about here. If your origin isn't even displayed, that's okay. You'll just go up here. You'll click on Define Origin, and we're just going to, we'll just pick it right about here. Okay. And if it's not displayed, you would just need to press F1 on your keyboard. Okay. So that'll turn it off. F1 will turn it back on. Okay. So you can see all of your parts have been brought in. So now it's a matter of placing the parts where you want to. But you would need to know what the size of your circuit board is. And the board size that we're going to be using is 4 inches by 2 3/4 inches. So first let's define our board size, and we'll work from our origin here. So if we come up to the toolbar, we're going to click on Place Our Board Outline. I'm going to set my grid to 0.1, and then let's see here. I have my board outline selected. So starting right here at the origin, I'm going to click, and then look down here in the lower right hand corner. You can see how far out you're dragging it. I want mine to be 4 inches to the X, and then I'll click. Then I'm going to come up until it's 2 3/4 or close to it. 2.7 is actually going to be good enough. I'll click, then I'm going to come back over, and now my X is 0. Then I'll come all the way back down to the bottom here and click again on my origin. And that set up my board outline. And go back and click on my arrow, Arduino. So remember, we're making a shield. So the shield, which is going to be our circuit board we're making, that's going to be 4 inches by 2 3/4 inches. That's going to snap on top of the Arduino. So kind of think of the way we're looking at this as the purple board outline here, or this purple outline. This is on top and the Arduino is underneath. Okay. So where will I want my Arduino to be? Probably right about like that. That's what I'm going to do anyway. So what I'm going to end up doing is putting my LEDs off to the edge. I'm going to keep them right about here. And I could go all the way out here, but I'll probably end up trimming my circuit board when I'm completely done with it anyway. So I'll probably just work and keep my infrared LEDs located right around in this area right here. So now it's just a matter of moving all of your parts to where you'd want them. Okay, so Q1. All right, let's start with Q1. I'm going to drag that over here. I'm going to move R1 out of the way. Okay, you want to make sure that the pads highlight red when you click, or before you click, I should say, so that you're actually moving that part. If not, you could end up moving the Arduino underneath, and we don't want to do that. Okay, so make sure that it's selected. Okay. Now you can rotate too by pressing R on the keyboard. I found that's not always friendly when you do that, but it is what it is. So I'm going to rotate mine around until the middle base lead right here is oriented to the left. Okay, and then what you're going to want to do as well is to keep the parts that are connected to one another, like for example D1, R5, the transistor, and R1. Let's kind of keep those grouped together right around in this area right here. It'll help for when it wires. So when we wire it up. So we'll keep Q1 there. Let's see, I said Q1. And we're going to have to orient our pads for the Q1 this way vertically. Okay, so that we can stick our LED in and then bend it over when we're done with it. Okay, And let's see here, what other part? R5, let's find R5, there it is. We'll bring that down in here, and R1, okay. So now you can see what's connected to what. This is connected to the base, so I'll probably move this like right around in here. This one's going to be attached up to the infrared LED. Actually, I'm going to change this down to 0.05 so I can move in finer increments. There. And this I'm going to actually rotate like that. And the reason is I'm looking at the connectivity between the parts. So these are going to be connected by traces. Okay, so it would be easier to have a trace run from this pad right straight over to here, rather than if the circle were up on top. Okay, and then this would connect straight up to this part right here. So having R1 right next to this transistor, that would just make sense, because then a trace could go right here. Okay, so you're going to go ahead and just position all of the parts where you're going to need them. One more thing that I want to show you real quick, because sometimes when you're clicking on these, like I said, you want to make sure that they're actually selected when you move it. We could actually ungroup this. So if we click on our Arduino and highlight it, right click, we could go to properties. Oops, did not work. Let's see here. There we go. Not properties. Right click on it and look for, let's see here, where is it? Ungroup Components right here. What that'll do is it'll basically make it so that all of the parts that were once a part of the Arduino and moved with an Arduino could actually be moved independently. So I could, if I wanted to, I could take this pad and move it now. It wouldn't move the entire Arduino. So if you have a position where you're going to permanently want it, you could potentially just ungroup it if you want. We will be erasing all of these little holes here. Okay, so you can and you will have to ungroup in order to erase these four anyway. So you might just go ahead and do that now. But make sure that you don't change the spacing between any of these pads. Okay, yeah, vertically or horizontally. All the Arduino parts have to stay where they are. So the only parts you should be moving around are the transistors, resistors, and the LEDs. Okay. So last thing here, yes, you'll continue to move and get all of your parts so your LEDs are off to the edge. I'll probably get it so all of my transistors are in a row here, and then the resistors will be over in this area. But I want to show you how we can change the pad size here on these Arduinos, because these are pretty small. So if I right click on the pad and click on pad properties, what I'm going to do is uncheck this box, and I'm going to make these much bigger. I'm going to make the width of these 0.09. I'm going to make the height 0.15, and I'm going to apply that to all of the similar pads. Boom, and I'll make those bigger, and that'll be a lot easier for when we're actually soldering. So you'll need to do that, and then get the rest of your parts arranged. I have all of my parts now positioned where I want to. So you can see I have my for Q4, actually I moved things around here a bit, but Q1 I have my associated resistors and my infrared LED all in this one little area. All of the transistors and resistors that belong with D2 are all in this little area. D3, they're right around in here, and the ones for D4 are right around in here. Okay, so just like kind of they are close to each other in proximity in my schematic. So Q1 and the resistors, Q2 and the resistors for it, Q3 and the resistors for it, and Q4 and the resistors for it. So I just did that to make life a little bit easier when we do the auto routing for this. We'd now like to set up some specifications for the routes, or the traces, I should say. We want to set the trace width to 35 mils, which is 0.035 inches. That's going to be the width of all of the traces that interconnect the pads. 0.01 inches will be the distance, minimal distance between traces. So they won't get any closer than 0.01 inches. So we'll set that, we'll click OK. Then we're going to go up to Root Auto Router Setup. We'll click on the Settings tab. and we want to check this, use priority layer directions. We're only going to be making a single-sided circuit board. We could do double-sided. It's a little bit more involved, so we're just going to stick with a single side. So we're going to turn the top layer off. So make sure that we click up here next to top, click on horizontal, and come down from the drop-down and select off. Click OK. And then, kind of as an afterthought, we thought it might be nice to add a switch. So I'm going to show you how you can just add a couple pads in here real quickly and easily without having to go back to the schematic diagram. So we're going to add a pad. We're going to actually add 3 of them. And the size of our pads that we're going to use are 0.09 in width. And let's make these rectangular, and we'll do a height of 0.15. Try that. Okay, and we'll click and place one. Oh, actually, we'll set this to 0.025 inches. We'll zoom in. We're going to put it on the edge of the board, and I'll plop one here, and then here, and that's good enough for now. Now, I really want these to be 0.025 inches apart from one another. Okay, so I set this at 0.025. And let's see, let's measure. So I'm going to click on measure. So the distance right now from here to here is 0.1. Okay, so let me move this over one more. That way, this one more that way. If I click on my rule, I can see then that now I am at 0.125 inches from that. Okay, now what I want to do, I'm going to connect my middle lead here to port 7. So let me click on place a rat line, and I'll click right here, and I'll go up to click on port 7, and then I'm going to connect this pad here to ground, and I'm going to connect this pad here to a 5-volt source. Lastly, then we'll want to auto route, which is going to find a way to connect all of these things together. It'll do that for us. All we need to do is go up to route, click on run auto router. And if we're lucky, it'll get them all, but it's possible that there could be some that are not going to find a way to connect them because we are only using a single-sided board. Now, in looking at this, however, it looks to me like it found a path for everything, which is kind of amazing. If it did not, what you would see is you'd see the blue rat lines still showing the connections. And those, you would need to then manually find a way to connect them. One way would be to just use some like wire wrap wire and manually solder one end of the wire to one of the pads and then the other end of the wire to another pad and make the connection that way. So this worked out great for us. So we'll go ahead and save this file then. Okay.